A very good evening to everyone, to online students too, and those who are behind the black screens, please reveal your young, lovely, lively faces fast. Teaching black screens would be difficult, no? Yes, this is our first interaction. Once in the classroom, you know the purpose, no? So please stick to the purpose of the lecture. Since this is our first interaction, so I'm supposed to introduce myself. So let me have very brief introduction, just my name. My name is S.K. Manocha. And I'll be there with you for teaching the section of physical geography for prelims as well as mains. Okay. And there is nothing much to say about introduction after that. I have been in association with the institute for the same purpose for about 31 years now. Means no promotion in life. I started with the same institute and I'm at the same place, right? In fact, there has been a demotion in life. That over a period of time, as the number of batches have increased, the areas which I have been teaching have reduced drastically. Okay? That is the only change which has occurred over these 31 or 32 years now. Okay. Now, this is my introduction. Rest of the things you'll get to know, no? By force itself. You have no choice. But I hope you understand that I'll not seek your introduction today for the reason the numbers involved. Yes or no? In fact, what I do in my first lecture is I seek introduction from my students in a very different way. I seek your introduction through your selection in the examination. So today in my classroom, both online, offline, take a pledge that you will do all the best you can to get your name in the list in the very next year. That is the first attempt you will have. So how many of you are interested in making that pledge? Pledge means a serious promise to yourself. Yes or no? So make a pledge. No need to raise hands. Do it inside. Inner voice should tell you that, right? So make a promise to yourself that you will do all you can and you will do it the best you can for getting your name in the list in the very first attempt. And it is very much possible if you have been an average student of the Indian university system and if you have the will to crack this examination. These are the two things you need: a graduate, an average graduate of India, plus the will to work hard. Nothing else. This exam is not that difficult as it is made out to be. Okay. So give your society, the loved ones at home, the future loved ones, and the friends and the relatives the best introduction by your selection. No? Then only they will get to know. So my suggestion is work hard in silence and let your success be noise to the world. Okay. I hope you understand the point. Now, since this is our first lecture, I'm not much interested in teaching you. But certainly I'll teach you. I'll show you that I know little geography. But that will come in the second half of the lecture. Now, let me tell you the 3 or 4 things I'll be doing in this lecture today. The first thing is that I have a routine practice in my lectures that whenever I meet my students for the first time, means first time in this is not for first lecture, means whenever I meet you for the lecture, I give my students a few thoughts for the day. By few thoughts, I mean some quotes, some proverbs, and I do it with some reasons. First reason is that for this examination, for this success, you need a persistent hard work for about 1.5 years. And in psychology, they teach us that you need continuous doses of motivation. Remember, the day you hear a topper's talk, you are motivated, no? After 2 days, you are back in the very comfort zone you started with. Yes or no? So in psychology, we understand we all need continuous doses of motivation. And since you are away from your elders in the family, so I'll take the role of being an elder. I'm little elder. No, don't. 6 or 7 years. And the overtime was the experience, right? 31 years. Okay. So I'll play the role of being an elder as well as a teacher with you. So whenever I meet my class students, I give a few thoughts, some quotes for motivation purpose. Second reason is that these quotes are very good for writing a good essay. You have a very important paper for your success in this examination, that is essay paper. And you all know from your school days and college days that a good quote can give you a good start, can give you a good conclusion, and good quotes give you ideas for the body of the essay. So for all the three sections of essay writing, introduction, the conclusion, as well as the body, you will find these quotes of great help to you. So second reason is for essay paper. The third is paper on ethics. Very soon you'll be starting with the paper on ethics, and you'll find not only the quotes are in general helpful. In fact, many of the questions in the examination will be based on the very quotes itself. So I wish that each one of you must inculcate a habit to collect as many quotes as possible for paper on essay as well as the paper on ethics. And I initiate this process by giving 4 or 5 thoughts every time I meet you for my lectures, okay? The other reason is that all these quotes and proverbs, they are the gist of learnings of wise people of the world, yes or no? Across different cultures of the world. One sentence can change your life if it really becomes a turning point, no? So human life is too short to learn everything oneself. So we should learn through these quotes the gist of different cultures of the world. Means learnings of centuries of the past from different cultures of the world. We can have we can have that learning through these quotes. So that is an additional purpose, right? So today being the first lecture, let me give you a few very simple thoughts. As I go with the classes, I'll keep raising the bar, right? I'll make them more philosophical in orientation. But today I'll keep it simple. And do remember, I'm a student of nature. I have been teaching ecology and geography over these 31 years and other subjects also, which I'll let you know later. So since I'm a student of nature, means nature is my first love. So a few thoughts will be on the nature itself, right? So let's start with nature. Remember, Mother Nature is very important for us, no? So please write 3 or 4 thoughts today. The first 2 would be for nature, and then 2 would be for your motivation. And online students, if I'm not looking at you, please do not misunderstand that I'm neglecting you people. These people in offline class are connected physically with me. We are having heart-to-heart connection, okay? They are not that important to me, I tell you. You are more important, right? So keep that different level of frequency with me, okay? So please write the first one. Nature nurtures us, we must nurture nature. Now see, one more rule. I will never give you the person who has given this thought, because I believe that remembering the source as well as the thought would make it difficult for all of us, yes or no? Remember, content is more important than the source. So we'll learn more quotes rather than a few quotes with the sources, okay? So I'll intentionally avoid the person who has given this particular quote, okay? Because remembering content would be much easier. With the person, it becomes difficult and your knowledge gets limited. Remember, the final purpose is to learn from these quotes, okay? So is this understood? Very simple quote. Second one. Nature to be commanded must be obeyed. Now, is the statement understood? Now see, immediately after Industrial Revolution, mankind thought that with the technology will control nature. And see what has been the result of that attempt. That today our own existence on this planet is threatened because of global warming and climate change. But the wisdom we have got now is that if we wish to command nature, if we wish to manage nature, the first rule is that we have to follow the rules of nature. So remember, in school we have been taught wrongly perhaps, where we have been told by our teachers and others that nature need to be saved, yes or no? But we will understand in the course of ecology and geography, nature is far supreme. Nature doesn't need a saving. It is the man who needs a saving, yes or no? And I can make you understand through one thought experiment that who needs a saving. One ecologist has given a 2 minutes thought experiment. He says, close your eyes, you need not. He says, close your eyes and just imagine that by tomorrow morning, no human being is left on this earth. And then further visualize that what would happen in my nature, what would happen to my planet in the next 200 years without the man on the earth's surface. So please visualize that. Don't close your eyes. Just think of it in a minute's time, that if none of us is left on this earth by tomorrow morning, what would happen to my nature in the next 200 years? Can I say the common answer in every mind would be, nature will flourish back to what it used to be. So it means nature doesn't need us at all. Yes or no? We need nature. So it is the mankind who needs to save itself rather than we trying to save nature. Nature doesn't need us. Nature is far supreme, far more complex than what we thought. So see, these kind of thoughts will give you a new orientation for essay writing. Yes or no? That the right kind of perspective. Otherwise, you'll go by the school level principles that the campaigns we used to have in locality, with the banners, nature needs a saving. Now let's go for two for your personal use. While we are postponing, life speeds by. Now tell me, is this understood? And please recall what important things you have missed in school and college, only for the reason that you kept postponing and your friends or your relatives or cousins happen to achieve what you could not. Or you might be one of those, no? So my guideline for the examination today is that please do not postpone anything in this examination. If you are really a serious candidate for the next year's examination, you are already late. I believe that you do not have a fear out of this statement. Your batch is already late, no? And you have to run faster than the others. Remember, if you postpone the things for next 2 months only in this examination, then please do not consider yourself as a candidate for the next year's examination. It might be next to next year, okay? So please do not postpone anything in this examination now. Disciplined hard work is the need for the examination. Remember, hard work we all can do, but what we need is disciplined hard work, routine hard work, every day, day after day. Yes or no? Means enjoy this process, I'll say. Enjoy the process of being in Delhi. Enjoy this process of this preparation. Do not worry about the results. Remember, in Japanese they say, it's easier, like if I quote exactly, it is, giving birth to a baby is easier than worrying about it. So clearing this examination is easier than worrying about this examination. Or they say, worrying is like a rocking chair. It gives you something to do, but gets you nowhere. Yes or no? So please do not worry about the results. Just enjoy this process. results would be great. Okay. Next one. Ambition is the path to success. Remember, ambition has brought you here to Delhi, to these classes, no? But is that sufficient? No. So first statement is just one part of the whole quote. The next statement is, next sentence is, persistence is a vehicle you arrive in. So ambition provides you the path, but the vehicle would be through persistent efforts for this examination. That is what I said, disciplined hard work. One common attribute of all toppers of the previous years is that they kept on working for this examination. Some did it in the first attempt, some took a few more attempts, but the one common attribute was that they were there to work all time, means all 2 or 3 years, they kept working for the goal. Okay. Now, these are the 4 simple quotes for today's lecture. A few may come during the course of my lecture today, but I'll keep raising the bar every time I meet you. Okay. Remember, many of your essay titles you would have seen last year only have been very philosophical also, no? So those who understand these quotes, they will understand those topics, no? And they will write better essays there. So this was my first routine exercise, which I'll do every time I meet you. Now, let me tell you the second one. Since it's our first interaction, so I'll wish to give you a few learnings for this examination. Now, since I was little late this time, I was on vacations. Today I have joined the institute again. So I could not meet you in my, generally I meet my students in the second lecture of the batch after the director's class. But this time I was little late. I believe you have been there for 7 days or so. Yes. So other teachers certainly would have given you the learnings or guidelines for this examination. So I'll be very brief. I'll not spend the time I generally do. So I'll give you 4 pieces of advice for this examination. You may find something common with the other teachers, but the only thing I'll request you will be that please do practice what I say. Yes or no? Just don't hear these pieces of advice. Please follow what I say, and you will find these will be the important keys to this examination. The first advice I give you is that, see, though I'm standing on the platform of an institute, and that to one of the most reputed institute of India, of the country, still I'll take the risk of saying something like this, that better than any institute of India and better than any teacher of India for this examination, your guide would be the previous year's syllabus, the syllabus of the UPSC examination and the previous year's question papers. Do not waste your time standing outside the staff room or going to the seniors of Karol Bagh and asking what is required for this examination. I tell you, you are not here to become seniors. I hope you understand. Seniors of Karol Bagh and Rajendra Nagar are only good for 3 things. Number 1, to know about their mistakes. Remember, human life is too short to make all mistakes oneself. Second thing you need to consult seniors is for knowing who are the good food caterers of this area. And third, who are the good landlords. Otherwise, seniors are not required. Okay. Your purpose should be clear, that I am here to crack this examination the very first attempt. Okay. And I should not take more time by knowing the mistakes these seniors have done, right? So please do not waste time anywhere. just refer to your syllabus copy as well as previous year's question papers. Remember, this is the litmus test you have to take next year. No one can guide you better than this. So have a hard copy of syllabus and the previous year's question papers, one in your bag and one on the table. And whenever you're free, just keep reading the syllabus again and again. More you know the syllabus, remember, when destination is known, the journey becomes easier. Yes or no? So please know the destination. And I'm emphasizing on this point because I know many of you, especially engineers of my class, happen to refer to the syllabus and the previous year's question papers just 1 week before the examination in your college days. Yes or no? And I'm saying 1 week just out of courtesy's sake. Yes, I know. This is the truth, no? That one night or one or two. Very good. Yes, I've been a student in India only, no? So when I speak on the platform here, I know what is there in the shoes on the other side. So please do remember this, that your syllabus and your previous year's question papers would be best guide for this examination. Keep reading your question papers, you'll get to know what exactly the UPSC is looking for. Yes or no? Now, I will not speak much on this, otherwise I could go further. Since I said I'm a little late, so I'll be keeping just the main points. So this is your litmus test. Don't waste, I repeat, time interacting with others. Remember, there's a like we Indians don't like Chinese, but I'm a student of social sciences and I believe that every culture has its assets and liabilities. And we Indians must learn from other cultural assets of the world. Chinese are one of the most practical people on this earth. And in China, there's a very famous, very popular proverb, very simple one. And we Indians need to follow that for this examination. In Chinese, they say, talk does not cook rice. Baaton se chawal nahi bante. And we Indians are trying to do that all the time. Please write on the top of your sheet this statement and write it in bold letters. Talk does not cook rice. Now see, I'm very sorry to say, but what I have found is majority of the students in this examination, they just talk about this examination. They enjoy being in these classes here, being with the friends outside on a tea stall, and so on and so forth. They enjoy the process, not of preparation, but of talking about this process. So my advice to you is, please stop talking about this examination. And we Indians are doing this in every field. Remember, I'm proud to be an Indian. Don't raise any question to my nationality, my nationalism. I'm very proud to be an Indian, but I'm a student of social sciences. I said, I'm aware about the liabilities our culture has and the assets we have. So please stop talking about this examination. I said, work hard in silence. Let your success be the noise to the world. So do not talk about this examination much. Just see the previous year's question paper. Someone is writing on the online platform that understanding these questions is really not that easy. It's very difficult, that you're not able to make sense out of these questions. No, nothing wrong with that. Remember, everything takes time in life. Making relationships takes time, isn't it? Everything takes time, I tell you. This is the learning I have got. Means if someone says, have you given a code yourself? I'll say, everything takes time. So please do not be in a hurry to crack this examination. Many students want, out of excitement, to do this examination before the date of the examination itself. Give yourself some time. This exam is very big in size. So my advice is that do not talk about this examination. Just read the syllabus copy. Just read the question papers of previous years. Even if they are not making sense, when you are attending these classes, they will start making sense. No? So let it be a gradual process. So the person who wrote that must understand that even if it is not making sense, you have to read them. Get to know what have been the questions, the titles of the previous year's essay paper. And as the lecture goes further, you'll get to know how it is going to be advantageous when you read a newspaper every day, right? So this is my first piece of advice. Second, UPSC has compartmentalized this examination 3 stages: prelims, mains and interview personality test, and it has done so for its administrative reasons. My advice to you is that you please do not compartmentalize your preparation for this examination. You need to take this examination in an integrated fashion. So follow an integrated approach for this examination. Remember, tell yourself that you are writing prelims next year to appear in the mains next year. Yes or no? Remember, if you clear your prelims and prelims next year without having preparation for the main examination, you are going to have no gain in life. Yes or no? So there is no gain, there is no fun clearing your prelims next year without having covered mains syllabus. So please tell yourself that I'm writing prelims to write mains and I'm writing mains to appear in the interview. So it means all the three stages should be there in the mind all the time, every moment of your life from today onward. Now, the course you have joined perhaps is named by the institute as prelim cum mains. Yes or no? I would say you do it the opposite, the other way, that you go for approaching the mains, go for mains as well as prelims together. It means approach prelims via mains. Now, when you approach your prelims via mains, you'll have two great advantages. Number one, it will enhance your chances to clear your preliminary examination. Yes or no? Because preliminary examination syllabus is not well defined. So when you cover mains also, it will improve your chances here. And second, when you clear your prelims, you will be already prepared for mains. So please do not just prepare for the first stage. And some student will say, sir, I will not do that. But let me tell you, let the month of December comes. Many of you will be so placed that you will not be able to think for the mains examination of the next year. Unfortunately, I'm not trying to discourage you. I'm trying to tell you the truth you are going to face in the month of December and January. So please do not place yourself in that situation that after 2 months you find I'm only good for prelims of next year. You have to work so hard from day one that you cover mains as well as prelims. And you also prepare for the interview. For example, you know, in the interview, they generally discuss in the beginning hobbies section, yes or no? And I have seen some very good students of the top universities of India, having spent 3 years in Delhi, when they reach to interview, just a few weeks before the interview, they come to ask us, what hobbies should I fill in my form? Is it not a shame that a graduate of India from a top university is asking me what should be my hobbies? The only thing we teachers can do is that you give us a list of hobbies, we can ask you, we can suggest you which ones are the better ones to be written for the interview, yes or no? But hobbies are something which are so personal that you have to decide of your own. So most of you know what are the things of interest to you whenever you're free in life, no? So those are hobbies. If you're not aware about it, please think about it. So this is what I mean, that you have to go for integrated approach. So this is the time you should finalize your hobbies also. And it doesn't take time, no? While having a cup of tea, you can think about it. So it means when you're doing prelims, you are thinking of mains as well as interview. So this is what I mean as integrated. Otherwise, I tell you, I have seen over 31 or 32 years now that you will be taking these three in different compartments over 3 years. And many good students will take 3 attempts to pass this examination only for this reason. Please don't let that happen to you. Remember, you'll be so placed every year, year after year, that you are only good for one stage, and then you think that I'll go for the second one only after the success in the first one. And it will be too late. So please do not cover the syllabus in bits and pieces only. Have an integrated fashion, integrated approach. Okay? It will give you the success in the first attempt itself. Now, my third piece of advice. The third is something which our director would have highlighted in the very first lecture, so I'll not speak much, and that is about the importance of newspaper reading. I hope Mr. Ravindran has emphasized on this in the very first lecture. Yes or no? Now, since he's an experienced person of these kind of things, so I'll not speak much. But if I tell you my other subject, other than geography and ecology, I have also been teaching in the past the subject called statistics. You know, statistics is about discussing things in numbers. So I would quantify the importance of newspaper reading for this examination based on my long experience. I would say, and I say it with a lot of responsibility and honesty, that newspaper reading alone will give you more than 50% of the content for success in this examination in all the three stages. Means for prelims, for mains, as well as interview, more than 50% of the requirements would be alone met from newspaper reading. And I say it with a lot of responsibility and honesty. I'm not trying to impress you with something what I'm saying, but this is what I have understood over the years. So please make newspaper reading as the core of your strategy for this examination. Revolve everything around the newspaper. Now, many of you might be struggling reading newspaper. Am I right or not? Struggling in the sense you might be taking 3 hours, 3.5 hours to read the newspaper. Let it be. If you are struggling reading newspaper, my only suggestion is keep struggling. I should not quote Churchill here. You know, Churchill we Indians don't like. But Churchill used to say that if you are going through hell, keep going. Because that is the only way to get out of it. So if you are struggling reading a newspaper, my suggestion is keep struggling reading newspaper. Because that will take you to success in this examination. About half, or in fact more than that, 50% of the requirements will come from the content from the newspaper. Remember, you all know, you can check that from the previous year's question papers. Most of the questions of previous year's papers will be from newspapers. And the questions which are from static portions, which are not from newspaper, they require content from the newspaper. I hope you understand the point. One, the questions will be from newspapers. And wherever the questions are not from the newspaper, they are from the classes like this. They would need content for the answers from the newspaper. That's the beauty of this examination. Means UPSC can go for any trick in this examination, but the only thing they can't avoid is newspaper. They have to come to it if they want parity in this examination for all kinds of students of the country, rural, urban, or different kinds of urban centers of India. How can you answer the questions on ethics, the case studies and all that without having the content from the country's newspaper? How would you define a newspaper? I define it in this way. Newspaper is something with which or through which nation talks to itself every day. Means a newspaper is something through which the nation is talking to itself. So UPSC is interested asking the candidates of this examination that what the nation has been talking in the last 1 year at the national as well as international level. So both the things, questions as well as answers, the content for the questions, answers would be from newspaper. So please keep reading newspaper every day, even if it takes 2.5 hours, 3 hours, 3.5 hours, or in some cases for some time, it may even take 4 hours. Let it be, because this is the core of your examination strategy. And let me give you a caution here. You will find some advertisements in this area from institutes in this field. They will say, they will read, the advertisement would read like this, that they will tell a candidate, do not waste your time reading a newspaper. They will use the word waste. And they will say, come to our classes once in a week for 6 hours. We'll give the gist of 6 newspapers of the country. So imagine, attractive offer, no? That you are struggling reading a newspaper every day with 4 hours of input. And even then it is not making sense sometimes. And some institute says that come to us. once in a week for 6 hours or 2 days a week for 6 hours, and will give you the gist of 6 newspapers of the country. And student will fall for that trap. Because this sounds easy, no? Because I've told you our human nature in India is that we love talk about the examination. We love in the process. We love to be engaged with someone. We run away from the hard work, the right solutions. So please, my advice is that please do not fall for this trap. Remember, to make you understand this point, there is a Hindi saying, Bina mare swarg nahi prapt hoga. And I add to that, marna bhi khud ko hi hai. So I hope you understand, you can't go to heavens on someone else's behalf. Yes or no? So my advice is, please read the newspaper yourself. Please do not try to outsource these kind of things for this examination. Hard work is something you have to do yourself, okay? So newspaper would be the core strategy part. In fact, I would say, couple your newspaper reading with reference to atlas. And now you'll get the reflection of me being a geography student. That when you are reading a newspaper, your atlas should be on the table along, yes or no? Because many of the international news items would refer to some places of the world. So the moment there is a particular area of the world map being discussed or area of India being discussed, you have to check it in the atlas immediately. Because many of the questions in prelims and mains would be based on maps. And the third thing would be, make a deadly combination of what I say, atlas, a newspaper, atlas and internet. Spend 5 or 6 hours on the table every day with these 3 things together. I hope you understand the point. And you will find many of the questions of previous year's papers, both prelims and mains, required this only. They ask you a question of volcanism, but they don't ask only volcanism, what books write. They say, write about 2 or 3 good examples of the volcanoes we had last year. See the beauty, yes or no? So it means a few things of volcanism you know from the lectures here, from the teacher. And newspaper will give you the 5 or 6. It means year before last there was a question of volcanism like this. And because the previous year had number of good volcanic eruptions. So how easy it becomes for a student and how difficult it is for the other student who has not read that newspaper. Yes, see, it's so simple. It means one who succeeds in this examination is not very different from you. You will find many toppers even not able to talk to you properly or when they come to the platform. Have you seen some toppers? You may not say it in the public, but many times when you hear those toppers talks, you find they are very ordinary kind of students. Yes or no? The only thing which differentiates them is hard work, the persistent efforts. So please go for deadly combination of these 3 things, that spend 4, 5, 6 hours a day other than these classes on this combination. Okay, that what you find in newspaper, if it demands atlas reference, do it. If it demands furthermore exploration, go to the internet. Because what UPSC goes for a small trick is that anything which is there in the news, they will take you to that area, but they will not ask you about that particular point. They will ask you about something different of that same area. It means one more piece of advice. When you go to atlas reference, don't be like Arjun. I hope you know Arjun. Imagine if Arjun was in my geography class. If I tell a place P of the world, he would only see P. Yes, sir? The whole world map would become blank for him. My advice is that when you go to atlas, be like your own self, the way you are on the road outside. I hope you understood. Some have understood immediately. This class is very sharp. I tell you, 20% students are extra sharp here. Those who reacted immediately, I know they have understood my point. When you are on the road outside, you always have a very large picture frame. Yes or no? You want to capture everything of the road. Even those things which our society says don't look at. But for your own awareness, you bring larger frame. See? So this is what I wish to have in newspaper, in atlas references. When you go to a place in the atlas, look around the way you look around on the road. Don't be like Arjun, because UPSC doesn't ask you about that place which has been there in news for 20 days. They will take you to that area and they will ask you something different of that area. So that is why I said, remember, this exam is very easy for you these days. With the click of the button, you have all the information of the world together. Yes or no? Remember, 30 years back, it was difficult in universities when we were studying. For a book, for a presentation, we had to search in different markets that I should get a book. Yes or no? 30, 35 years back. But today, for anything you have to go for, sitting at home with a laptop, internet, you get the information. Much more than what you require. So it means you are in such an environment today, it demands only one thing from you, sitting on the table for long hours. I find the present generation you belong to, you are multifaceted people. I've seen my children at home, I've seen the other people around in the locality, and I've seen my students in large numbers every year. Remember, my sample size has been always very large, no? Imagine 30 batches, 600 plus students, no? No professor in the world would have such a kind of experience. And that too, see, one more important element. In this classroom, I have entire India being present. Yes or no? That's the beauty of these classes. That is why I have not left this institute for the last 31 years. That when I come for 2.5 hours of class, I interact with the whole India at the same time. And which India? Youth India. With ambitions in life. Enterprising students. It would be a dull, boring class in a university, no? Where students are for a particular subject. Here I have a doctor, I have an engineer, I have every kind of student here. And when a doctor will ask a question on geography, it would be a great question, no? And when I attempt answering that question, I will learn from the student. So I have learned my subject through the student itself. Remember, you have paid to the institute, institute pays me also, but see, I learn free. Because there's another saying, in teaching you learn, in learning you teach. It's a two-way process. I'm your teacher, you are my teachers. You will never come to know that you are teachers. When did you teach me? You never come to know. I will learn from a student's question sometime. I will learn from your faces also. That I'm teaching something in a particular way, I find students are not liking it. Next time I'll change it. Yes or no? Your expressions will make me understand that at what frequency I have to go for. So, please go for this deadly combination. It would be of great help. But yes, it needs hard work. Yes or no? It needs isolation. Remember, another learning I give my students is learn to be alone in life. At least for next 1.5 years, learn to be alone. When you learn to be alone, it makes you stronger in personality. Weak students will be found on tea stalls. I'm not saying always, no. Means don't take my statement in absolute sense. You can go for a tea. Yes or no, for a cup of tea with the friends. But if you are there all the time, talking about UPSC, giving, then you are here for being a senior, no? So my suggestion is that learn to be alone in your room. If you're not in a mood to study, go for a long walk. Yes or no? And you'll find new things will come to your mind. Salvation will come. No. You will become Buddha on that walk. In just 20 minutes, you will become Buddha on the subject you have been studying. So, learn to be alone. That is the weakness most of us have. We can't be alone, no? And get rid of this social media. So, when you have books on the table, don't have Facebook on the table. Yes, then only you will have effective studies. Now, I come to the last point. The last piece of advice. Now see, from various sources around you, especially YouTube channels, etc., you'd have come across the understanding that this exam is the most difficult examination of India, or at least they would say one of the most difficult examinations of the world as such. Have you seen such a kind of feedback or not? Now, I disagree. I do say that this exam is difficult, but I disagree. I say this examination is not that difficult as it is perceived to be. And I can prove it logically here in just 5 minutes time. So I say this exam is difficult, but it is not the difficult examination of the country or one of the difficult examinations of the world. It is difficult, but it is not that difficult as it is made out to be. And I can logically prove my point, being a student of statistics. Number one is, those who say it is the difficult, it is the most difficult examination of the country or the world, how do they prove it? I hope you know that every YouTube channel says it so only on the basis of one reason, and that is number of candidates who take this examination, yes or no? And they compare it with success rate. This is the only logic they take, that the lakhs of students appear in this examination and selection is only for a few students. And they say this is why this is the most difficult examination of the country. But my take on this exam is different. And this is a true learning I've got being in this process for so many years. And my learning is, I've already said indirectly. See here, about 75% of the students who take this examination, to my understanding, they are merely a crowd in this examination. And this is so for every Indian examination. Every public exam of India is a social meeting point. Let me tell you this honestly. And this is the real first-hand understanding of this experience. So I'm not trying to impress anyone here, because I'm here. That is, you can't change the teacher. Yes or no? I'm here because of other reasons. So point is, I'm sharing with you a fact which I've learned over the period of time, that majority of the students, and I say majority as much as 75% of the candidates who take this examination, they are merely a crowd of this examination. They are the ones who simply talk about this examination. So take a pledge today that you will not be a part of this crowd. You will be a part of that 25% who is going to compete for this examination. So there is a competition, there is a difficulty in this examination, but it is not that difficult because majority is simply a crowd. And take my words on for this, means I'm very honest on this point. Means if someone asks me this for some other reason also, this is the first experience I share with my students or others who are interested talking about the public exams in India. So please don't have a fear psychosis from the numbers who take numbers who are involved, which are involved in this exam. Second point, how do I prove that this is not difficult as what they are making it to be perceived? Now, second is, you all know, you have seen the results of previous years. Means you have seen the results of previous years, and you will agree. You will agree with me if I say that first 100 ranked students had scores ranging between 52 to 55% marks. Am I right or not? Means with 52, 53, 54, 58%, you are one amongst the first 100 ranks. Yes or no? Please tell me any exam of India, school or college, where with this score, you are praised by anyone. With this score, you are the backbenchers in the class. Yes or no? With this score, we all know we had to attend every parent-teacher meeting. With this score, some of us know that we had to change our father or mother on the parent-teacher meeting day. Yes or no? Remember those good golden days of life? When there was one mother to 3 friends because the teacher was new. See, this was the state of this score, no? And see the grace of UPSC, that they give the top services of the country with this poor score. So imagine, poor score means you need a very average score in this examination. And that too in a situation where everything is available in the room itself. So don't let this opportunity go out of hand, no? Because this only demands hard work. And this hard work can change your life. It can change the lives of the beloved ones at home and the lives of those who will come in the family, yes or no? And if you have a social mission, you can change the lives of millions in this country. No other service of the world will provide you such a kind of a venue. Remember, China and India are the two countries where administrators do things in big numbers always. No, that you start a CNG bus service in Delhi, the very first day you start the service, it becomes the largest such service anywhere in the world because of the numbers involved in the city of Delhi. Yes, no? So be a part of this administration with just 1.5 years of hard work, nothing else. Average student, we do not need the cream of the universities. Have you not seen many administrators, many IAS officers who are in service, they are sharing their mark sheets of 10th and 12th? And what are they saying? What those mark sheets are reflecting? That they failed in their school and college. Still they are in the top services. It means there's another saying in life you need to know. Failure is an event, not a person. Your 10th standard you might have failed. Your first attempt may fail, yes or no? But as a person, you will not fail if you are persistent with your hard work. So, this score is not that difficult. Now, you will be saying that he is making something what is not so real, because many will say the exam is not that easy also. So, now I'll come to the point that I never said this exam is easy. I said it is not that difficult as it is perceived to be. So, now let me tell you what is the only challenge in this examination we have. And that challenge is the size of this examination. So I tell everyone in my first lecture that what kills you in this exam is the size. And if the size kills you, the only way out is you kill the size before the size kills you. Yes or no? So now those who don't understand what is size, let's understand the point. What is difficult in this exam? What is the challenge of this examination? See here. Scoring 52 to 55% marks is not difficult. You all know. Write sketchy answers to the questions. You'll get this score always. Yes or no? I repeat my point. And I say it with a lot of responsibility again. Write a sketchy answer to any question. You get more than 55% marks in that question. But then what is the challenge? Challenge is you have to get this score, this average score, in too many papers in the same attempt. Please try to understand the sentence once again, because many of you may not get in the first go. What is the challenge of this examination? Getting 52 to 55% marks, which is very average score, in many papers together in the same attempt. You will find seniors in this area who have got this score in all the papers except these three in the first attempt. Next attempt, they worked harder on this. They got this score in these three, but they did not get in these two. Next year, again, they had some same problem. It means they reached to this score, but they could not achieve this score in all the papers in the same attempt. Imagine if UPSC had a rule that we can choose the best of your 3 attempts. I hope you understand the point. No, many lives will change in this country, but they don't do. They want the same attempt result. So this is the only challenge of this examination. I tell you that size kills you because there are too many papers in GS and optional, and you'll get this average score in all of them together in the same attempt. And what is the advice? I said very clearly, kill the size before the size kills you. Now someone may ask me here, that sir, how can we kill the size? I'll give you 2 pieces of advice here also. Number 1, many of you would know this man. You must be knowing Henry Ford, who gave us automobile industry, who gave us assembly line production technique and many new things in industry. He is known for many great statements, but one which I have followed throughout is Henry Ford used to say, nothing is particularly hard if you divide it into small parts. Think of this statement. Follow this golden rule, I tell you. If you want to succeed in this examination, make Ford your hero for next 1.5 years. And later, he'll be natural to you. Ford, I repeat, he's used to say, nothing is particularly hard if we divide it into small parts. So remember, UPSC syllabus is very large. When you look at the whole syllabus in one go, it gives you a fear psychosis. So Ford is suggesting you divide it into small parts and cover each part separately every day. Do it for next 30, I'll say do it for next 2 months or so. You'll find you are in commanding position for the syllabus. Remember, in many examinations, I'm not saying for everyone, exceptions are always there. For most of us in school and college, syllabus dominated us, yes or no? And that was the most unfortunate thing. Please go for Ford's advice, and within 2 or 3 months, you will dominate, you will command the syllabus. So remember, my advice is don't make big plans for this examination. Remember, every week you will mature for this examination. If your perception is going to change every week, how can you plan effectively? So the only planning you need is that I should go to my bed today with satisfaction, and I should wake up tomorrow morning with new determination. Tell me, is that planning good enough or not? When would you have the satisfaction? When you have done the day's job, yes or no? And what is the competition you have? You have no competition with anyone else. I tell you, it is your own competition. You have to compete with your own self. Keep raising your bar every day. Remember, you have to learn from Japanese also. You know, Japan has all kinds of problems, no? Because of what it had a shattered economy. It has a physical geography which is all full of difficulties. And Japanese started with one rule. They said the only way we can compete with these Western people is continuous improvement in life. And this is what makes them so great today. That they said improvement alone is not sufficient for a country like us. We have to keep on improving every day. And that is why they are famous for innovations in life. So that is my advice to you. Please improve yourself every day of this examination preparation. So go to bed with satisfaction today after hard work, and tomorrow raise the bar to next level. And do it slowly. Everything takes time. Don't be in a hurry. Remember, if you have deficiencies of school and college, you'll have to work harder than others. No. The first good thing is that you have recognized your deficiency. And the second thing is you have to work to eliminate those deficiencies. So only thing may be that you might take one more attempt only for the reason you have not done good in school or college. Yes? No? So Ford is your hero for this examination as per my advice. One more point. Since you want to kill the size of this examination, and you also know from school days that revision is very important for success in the examination. Remember, whatever you could revise 1 or 2 days before the exam, you could use it in the examination hall in school and college. And when you have huge syllabus, would you be able to revise it if you go the conventional way? So what is the way out? The second advice is that whatever you are studying, study it so well that you keep making synoptic notes of everything. By synoptic notes, I mean convert your syllabus content into a few pages for every section, so that you are able to revise the huge syllabus in a few days before the examination. And for that reason only, I said, sit on the table for long hours, be alone in life. Don't spend time on the road. It keeps you busy. It keeps you engaged as if I'm here for UPSC only. But you're not here for being in Delhi. You're here to crack the examination. Yes or no? So sit on the table and make synoptic notes, and don't read any book from one cover to cover. Be very practical. See, you are attending the classes by the teachers of the subjects. So what you have to do is go to a topic of the mains syllabus, optional or GS, and answer that topic itself. Yes or no? Write 5 pages on that topic from a good source or 2 good sources. Don't use too many sources. And then in the next reading, make synoptic notes out of that. And keep revising those notes. And remember, the notes we have written yourself with your own hand, they will get embedded here. Remember, I know with my own experience, what I wrote with my hand 35 years back in a notebook, I still remember that. But the pages which I got photocopied, I don't remember. I hope you understand this point, no? So write with your hand. Write it in bullets, the synoptic notes, and keep revising them. So 2 rules for killing the size for this examination. Number 1, make Ford as your hero. Don't look at the syllabus as a whole. Look at it in parts. And second, make synoptic notes. Okay. With this, I end my section of pieces of advice. Please remember, you might have heard of these kind of things earlier also from other quarters. The only request I'll make is please follow. Yes or no? If you're a sincere candidate for this examination. And one more rule for my classes. Don't be serious, because after such a talk, many students become serious with their faces. I don't need any serious student in my class. I need a sincere student in my class with a smiling face. So the rule of my classes is that keep smiling. When I'm teaching well, smile for that reason. If I don't teach well, smile with the hope that he'll improve after some time. Okay, but do smile. Remember, smile is contagious. Yes or no? In board, in interview also it will help you, but don't overdo it. And don't overdo it on the road also. Later saying teacher advises this in the class. But you will find smile is really helpful. No, it connects you with the strangers immediately. And smile gives you a face full of confidence. So remember, have confidence for this examination and have the will to work hard. Remember, when you have confidence, you have fun in life. And when you have fun in life, you do amazing things in life. Remember, success is like science. If you meet the conditions, results do happen. Success is like being in a chemistry lab. If you mix the chemicals the right way, the results do happen. Yes or no? If you set your apparatus correctly in the physics lab, results do happen. So tell yourself you are in Delhi to mix your chemicals the right way. You are here to set your apparatus the right way. Results will come. I tell you, my experience is I have not seen a hardworking student failing this examination. I only have seen someone taking 2 attempts or 3 attempts. Someone not passing UPSC but passing state civil services. I've seen such kind of variations, but people do get success when they work hard. Okay. How much you have to work hard, that depends on the deficiencies of school and college. Yes, you know? That many of us were not sincere in school, but now we are aiming for something big. So certainly you need some sacrifice now. And that will be through hard work. Remember, parents have made a lot of sacrifice by sending you here. Yes or no? Not only financially. Remember, physically you are an asset at home. If they had any problem, you were of some help to them. And now they have to do everything of their own. So pay them back with great rewards by being in the list. No, they will be happy with the selection only. And let me tell you one more thing. By being in a great service like IPS or IAS, you will never enjoy. It is the beloved ones at home will enjoy. No, you will be cursing your selection, I tell you, sometimes, at least once in a week. This is what our old students tell us whenever they come to Delhi to meet us. They say, sir, I weep one day, I cry one day on the dining table when I'm alone. Only for the reason there is so much oppression. There's so much of stress all the time. But they do not miss telling us that others are enjoying with the kind of things this service would bring as such. Okay. So be sincere to the objective you are here for. Don't have any stress. Enjoy the process. Yes. Doesn't matter. Nothing wrong. She says, now see, now this some good question has come. That she says, if I have not read the newspaper till now, the mistake I've done, what should be the remedy now? Nothing wrong. The institute is doing the job. They are giving the magazine, no? They are giving you some portal information. So use that. Okay. So it means whatever past deficiencies are there are some solutions for that. But now you remember, You have alternate sources for newspaper also, like magazine or the portal information. But what I wish is, or what I want to say is, that you cannot write from the notes the content for essay. When you read an editorial yourself, then you'll get an innovative answer for an essay or paper on ethics or a paper on question on governance. No, I want that originality to come, and that will come when you have read the article yourself. And now see the beauty. I said, what was my first advice? Syllabus and previous year's question papers would be your best guideline. Yes or no? Better than any institute or teacher. Now, when you are reading newspaper, don't you think, if you have seen, for example, if you have seen the last 12 years papers of essay, if you have seen the titles they have asked for, the moment you read the title of an article in the newspaper, don't you think the moment you read that, you get to understand, yes, it would be good for a particular kind of essay. Yes or no? And immediately you can go for reading. You don't need any teacher's help. You don't need any senior's help. I tell you, teachers don't know much except their own area. And seniors, I hope you know, seniors have to avoid it. We have to just learn from their mistakes only. So please go for reading newspaper in accordance with the syllabus and previous question papers. Now, someone is writing on the online platform that should we make notes for these newspaper reading, etc. Yes, limit it. Remember, don't make notes for those things which are there in the magazine given by the institute. Make notes for some editorials only. And how much notes? You read one article and take 2 or 3 sentences only from there, which you believe will be good for paper on ethics or essay or some question or some topic of this GS syllabus. And this you can do only when you know the previous year's papers, no? Remember, you are a graduate. Someone said, I am not able to understand the previous year's question papers. I said, gradually you'll have that learning. And second, you are a graduate, no? You have the basic learning, no? So it means you can understand simple English of the previous year's question papers. If you may not know the right answer to a question, but you understand what the question is asking for. So I stop here because there is no end to these kind of discussions, because some students will have start doubting that does he know geography or not. But before I come to, in fact, I'm not going to teach you that geography today, what you would have thought of. Means I'm not going to teach anything conventional on geography today. I'll teach you geography, but different geography. And before I come to that, let me give you one more piece of advice. But why do I keep this piece separately? Because what I'm going to mention now is like something which encroaches your personal sphere. So some students will mind me advising on this particular topic. But I'll take the risk of annoying a few students of my class, because I know the advice would be good for larger section of my class. And this is something about your personal life. I ideally should not speak about it. But I'm going to speak because I have assumed the role of being an elder in Delhi, right? Yes or no? And I hope you don't mind that. Means at least you can take me as your father. Yes or no? So, or if not father, elder brother. That would make me feel young. Remember, teachers never grow old. Teachers are as young as the students they teach. That is the beauty of this profession. Now, the piece of advice I now give is that in the last 31, 32 years, I've seen some very good students with top credentials of the top universities of India. They either failing this examination after 3 or 4 attempts, not making to the list, or making to the list after 2 or 3 attempts. Means I've seen many good students wasting their time and not getting success at all, or getting success very late. Those students who could have done it in the very first attempt. Now, reason was when they were in Delhi, they got engaged with someone. See. Now listen to this point carefully. The kind of age group you are in, this is the right age. Now let us keep this exam aside. Don't think of the UPSC examination for a minute. Don't think if exam is not on the focus, this is the right age for you to choose a companion for life? Yes or no? Is it the truth or not? This is the right age when you should go for a partner in life. Please do not have any comments further. Listen to the point. Let it be a classroom. So the age group you are in, it is the right age for companionship in life. But if you go for companionship now in Delhi, don't think with that social engagement, you will not be able to have focused approach for this examination. And you have seen the size of the examination demands. Hard work for 1.5 years minimum. So my advice to you is that please postpone this particular social engagement. Because what has happened is, many of these good students, they come to us after their failed attempts. And then they tell us their story. But unfortunately, they come to us at a very late stage, no? That we can't do anything. So over a period of time, I learned something. I said that I can't help these students. Then they come to us. So why should I not take a step in the very first lecture I meet my students? At least give a piece of advice to those who have still not stepped into this relationship. There would be a few students in my class who have already done this, no? For them, I really have nothing to say. They have to decide of their own now. But for others who have not taken this step, my advice is, please postpone this particular engagement, because both the things together will not go hand. But many of you will feel, I'm smart enough. I'll handle the relationship as well as this examination. But I know with experience, you will not be. You will be failing on both the fronts sometime, or at least on one front. So please postpone this. And since it's encroachment on your personal sphere, so I will not speak much on this. And to avoid speaking much, with my experience, I have made a slogan for my class. So I end this section with a slogan. I always use my first lecture, and that slogan is, do remember, your selection after selection will always be a better selection. Yes. 30% of the class has got it, 40%, 50% has understood. The rest 50% will understand over a few minutes time. And some may understand after the class is over. While they're having dinner, they will understand what was the gist of that point. Remember, those who are still not getting, I repeat this statement, your selection after selection will always be a better selection. Remember, if you do not mind my point, your market value today is very low. So don't make a commitment. Once you are in the final list, you'll have the choice to choose from. In fact, people will come to Mussoorie and choose, and they will help you. They will have a wider choice for you. So do not make any commitment at this stage of the examination when you do not have that big status to make choices. Okay, and I'm saying it for both the genders. I'm not gender specific as such. I'm saying it for both. Gender parity is the goal. So please go for the focus you are here for. Remember the purpose you are here for in Delhi. Okay, other things can follow after 1.5 years. And remember, this is the only field in life in India where with just 1.5 years of hard work, you can change your life and the lives of many at home and the millions in this country. Remember, all other fields of life take years to succeed. Yes or no? Imagine sports. 20 years of hard work, then you get your name in the final list in the national level team. Yes or no? Only a few people reach that level. And if by chance there is an injury, you get out of the team for the rest of the life. And your fame is only for a few years. But in this examination, with just 1.5 years, you get something for the whole life. So my suggestion, read your newspaper so well now, with the promise to yourself that I'll not read this newspaper ever again in life. Not understood. Means, remember, once in the final list, who is going to compel you to read the newspaper? No, don't you think? Once you are IAS or IPS, you can ask the subordinates to read the newspaper. You can choose 3 subordinates in your office and say, you report international events, you report national political events, and you are good in sports. So see, that is the beauty of these services. So please do the hard work now, just for 1.5 years. Sky is the limit in this examination. I tell you, once in the services, you can even go for higher studies to Oxford University, no? And imagine going to that great university or any other university of the world at government's cost and as a representative of India. That's the beauty. Learn from your Prime Minister. He's traveling a lot. Okay. With this, I stop in this section. Now, let me tell you what are the 2 sections left for today's lecture. I was here for geography, no? So now rest of the time I have with you, I'll divide it into 2 parts. In the next 30-40 minutes time, I'll give you an introduction of geography, which is on some unconventional lines. Means I'll be little different from the books of geography to give you some introduction of the subject of geography. My first 5 minutes would be something on the lines of the book, or some other teacher of geography might have already met you. So he might also have given that point. But after 5 minutes, I'll be very different. So I'm going to provide you an introduction of the subject of geography. And those who understand my focus in this discussion, they will take home 2 learnings for better answer writing in all the exams of this UPSC attempt. Means there is something so beautiful in geography. Means geography is so fascinating a subject that it gives you an edge in answer writing for all other subjects of life. Now, this might not sound that easy for you to understand at this moment. Just follow me for next 40 minutes and you'll take home some tool for better answer writing from the subject of geography. Okay, there's something unique about geography which I'm going to share with you after 5-10 minutes time. So now I start this section, and in the last section of my class I'll be teaching you something for my next lecture. I'll be teaching some basics about the globe. Remember that geography is a subject which has to always use maps and globe. So we need to have some basics of the places representation of the earth through a globe or map, and that is what would be my last section, preparing you for my next lecture. Okay. Now, I start very conventional way first, but within 5 minutes I'll change. And before I start, one more rule for my classes. In all my lectures when I meet, I'll keep using a phrase, be on the board. So when I tell my students be on the board, basically I'm saying, please don't attempt writing at that point. Okay. So as a teacher, I feel I'm very structured. First, I'll explain something and immediately I'll make you write also. Okay. So don't fear about the notes. I know as a student that if notes are not there for the lecture, lecture will be lost on the way to place. No, that as you go walk back to your room, half of the lecture will be gone with the winds. No, and rest of that lecture would be over in next 2 or 3 days. So notes are all very important. So I'll share with you. I'll share those notes with the class notes here as well as through other means also. So be on the board for 5 minutes. Now there is a student asking, what are your parts of geography? I said in the very beginning, I'm here to teach you physical geography. Let me now make it more specific before I start. See here. You would have seen this representation of our earth in school books, that this is atmosphere, this is hydrosphere, and this is lithosphere. And this is the intersection called biosphere, the life layer of the earth. Your ecology teacher will focus primarily on biosphere, and we, the teachers of physical geography, will focus on atmosphere, hydrosphere, and lithosphere. I'll be meeting you for 21 lectures for the focus on atmosphere through the science called climatology, and I'll focus on the oceans of the world through the subject called oceanography. If Mr. Rijwan has taken the lecture, has it met you? So he would be talking about lithosphere. Okay. So these are the three areas we have to focus on. Mr. Shiv Arpit, another teacher of geography, will come. Or has he taken the class? Very good. See, I'm late this time. So Mr. Shiv Arpit would be more about Indian geography and economic aspects and all that. Okay. Now, besides atmosphere and hydrosphere, in my 3 or 4 lectures in the beginning, I'll be talking about something in general also. For example, in the coming days, I'm going to teach you about locating places on the Earth's surface. You have learned about latitudes, longitudes, lines called parallels, meridians. Then you have heard about the time concept called local time, standard time, time zones, international dateline, daylight saving time. All these kind of things I'll teach you first. And then later, we'll be starting with the atmosphere and hydrosphere. And those who have seen the question papers of this year, they would have seen there were 3 direct questions, 15 marks on the 2 areas which I'm teaching, atmosphere and hydrosphere. There was a question, ocean currents, copied exactly the way we teach in the class. There was a question on atmosphere, troposphere, exactly the way we would have done it in the class. Okay. There was a question on cyclones, and there was a question, one more question. I don't remember, no. Anyway, it will come in my mind. So, yes? One cyclone that I've seen, one more question was there. No, there was one more direct question. Anyway, so they came, no? And see, when the questions come, teacher becomes good teacher, no? But do remember, these are such areas of subjects that without them, you will not understand other things also, no? You can't do anything in economics also without knowing geography. So is it clear to everyone that I'm going to teach you atmosphere and hydrosphere? There's a student writing, Kuldeep, there was a question Deccan Trap, but that question on Deccan Trap would be done by a teacher on lithosphere, no? Or Mr. Shiv Arpit when he does Indian geography. I was talking about my own area, right? I'm just missing one more question. Anyway, so be on the board for 5 minutes and don't write anything. See here. By now you might have been told about this, what I say now, that the word geography has 2 Greek roots, geo plus graphin. Please don't write anything, follow me on the board. Geo means earth and graphin means a discourse or some description of it. It means the literal meaning of the word geography is the description of my planet Earth, right? Now, you know from your school and college days that Greeks have been pioneers in many subjects we study today. Not all, but most of the subjects we study today in our university system, their scientific foundations were laid by Greeks, and geography was one of them. So it means I'm going to make you write very soon that Greeks were the first geographers of the world. And amongst these Greek scholars, there was a Greek scholar by the name Eratosthenes. The name is not important, but since he's like a father figure of my subject, so I need to mention it. Eratosthenes, who lived in 3rd century BC, he coined the word geography, and let's see how did he define it. And the beauty is that his single sentence definition given in 3rd century BC is still working solid. Eratosthenes defined geography as the study of the earth as the home of man. Think of this simple sentence. He said geography is the study of the earth as the home of man. Now, this is the same focus we have today also in this subject. And this single sentence definition tells you a lot. It tells you immediately that the subject geography is a very rich subject. Why? Because it studies earth. It means it studies nature. It studies nature as the home of man. It means man also comes in picture. And remember, when man is using nature as home, it means interactions between man and nature are also being studied. That people in Rajasthan interact with the nature in one way, which is different from people in Dubai, for example. Yes or no? Environment may be similar, but interactions are different. So it means my subject is very rich for the reason that it deals with nature, it deals with man also, and it deals with interactions between the two. Most of the subjects you study in college or school, they studied only nature or man, whereas geography studies very comprehensively nature, man, as well as interactions. Now let's write this much, then I'll go for a little different approach. Please write the way I have written. Please write geography, put a hyphen and divide it into two parts, geo plus graphin. And put a hyphen again and write literally it means the description of the earth. Literally it means the description of the earth. Then right, next point. Greeks are supposed to be the first geographers of the world. Greeks are supposed to be the first geographers of the world. Next you write Eratosthenes, Eratosthenes, Eratosthenes coined the word geography. Eratosthenes coined the word geography and defined it as the study of the earth, as the home of man. Study of the earth as the home of man. That's all. Now be on the board again. Now what I do is I make a margin on the board here. What is the learning of this section? The first learning here is that in geography my focus is on, yes please, Earth's surface, yes or no? Because where lies the home of man? When I say my study of geography is the study of the earth as the home of man, it means my home lies on the surface of the earth. It means my primary focus in geography is on the surface of the earth. But you have learned from Mr. Rijwan's class that we are going to focus on inside processes also. He would have mentioned the words like endogenetic processes. Did he mention that? See, I know that section also. Right? So, we geographers are also interested in inside story also, andar ki baat. But point is, we will limit ourselves about the inside story because that subject more belongs to the students of geology. Geologists will study the whole earth, but whereas we geographers will take something from geologists about the inside story and we'll study inside story to the extent it affects the surface of the earth. So we'll study inside at least to the extent it affects the earth surface. And with Mr. Rijwan's classes, you'll get to know that inside of the earth we have complex processes. If there is anything constant inside of the earth, it is change itself. Things are changing all the time. And because of the processes which are going inside, there are stresses inside. As you go for UPSC examination process, stress will be there, no? And you need to release this stress. So Mother Nature also needs to release this stress. It means earth is like a pressure cooker. If the steam built inside the pressure cooker is not released, you can understand there's a mishap possibility in the kitchen. So same way, my earth releases its stresses and it releases through sometimes earthquakes, volcanism, and other things which your teacher will teach you under the theory of plate tectonics. Now, so my learning at this moment is that my subject focuses primarily on Earth's surface. I leave it here. I need to bring one second point now. Now, this is something whatever I've said so far is a conventional kind of story. But now I bring some new element. And from here, from this particular part of the discussion, you'll get some tool for answer writing in other subjects also. Means geography is going to help you in all subjects of life and your administration later in life, right? Means as an administrator, you will do better if you are good in geography. So let's see what exactly is that uniqueness of this subject of geography. Now, please focus on the board and don't write anything. See here. Whenever you come to attend the first lecture of any subject, you expect from the student who has come to teach you to tell you about the boundary of that subject in terms of content that subject studies. I hope this is understood. Means you will be expecting from me today that by 8 o'clock when we finish this lecture, at least he should have told us about boundary of the subject called geography, that what exactly is the subject matter of geography. Because conventionally you have been told in school and college that every subject has a specific focus area. So you expect from me to draw a boundary to the subject of geography in terms of content it studies. But I'm going to surprise my class today by saying that geography is so different a subject that there is no boundary to my subject in terms of content it studies. It means I'm making a very sweeping statement for my subject. I'm saying we geographers can study almost everything of man and nature both found on the earth's surface. Think of this point again, that I'm making a big claim for the subject of geography by saying that my focus is on the earth's surface, but we study almost everything of nature and human society on the earth's surface. I say there is no boundary to my subject in terms of content it studies. Now, when I say this, some of the students would believe or will feel perhaps this teacher of ours has taken something wrong today. Perhaps he's on a high today. See, when I come to a classroom, I can't afford to be on high, So I'm in my proper senses. I know my job. And that is how I have been here for 31 years. So I'm not on a high, I'm in a proper sense, and still claim this point that geography is such a subject which studies almost everything of both nature and human society found on the earth's surface. It means I'm saying content does not limit my subject at all. Now, those students who follow me, those who love to understand what exactly I'm trying to teach, they will ask me next question. They will say, sir, if content does not define your subject, then please tell us what defines your subject called geography. Because you say you are a geographer, then tell us what makes you call yourself as a geographer. There must be something different in you which makes you different from the students of sociology, psychology, and philosophy, etc. So when you ask me such a good question that, sir, what defines the subject of geography? If content is not defining it, then my answer is that what defines my subject of geography is not the content, it is the methodology, the approach which I use. It means as a student of geography, I can study almost everything. But what makes me a student of geography is that the way I study what I study. Think of this sentence, that what makes me a geographer is the approach, the method, the way I study, the methodology I use to study what I study. So what I study doesn't make me a geographer. What makes me a geographer is the approach with which I study what I study. I can study everything of nature and human society, but what makes me a geographer is the methodology. So what defines my subject is not the content. What defines my subject is method. Now you'll ask me, those who are involved in my discussion, they will say, sir, what is that method? Yes or no? Then answer to this question, the notes would be that methodology, what defines my subject is called spatial analysis. So we geographers go for spatial analysis of what we study. Now what is the next question? What is spatial analysis? Now, before I answer that, let's write this sentence. Please write this last point. Please write, geography is governed by a method. Geography is governed by method geography is governed by method rather by a specific body of knowledge. Geography is governed by method rather by a specific body of knowledge. And this method is spatial analysis. And this method is spatial analysis. Now, be on the board again, please don't write anything. Now the focus area is what is? Spatial analysis. Now, please don't write and follow me on the board. So now you ask me, sir, what is the spatial analysis? Now, my simple answer will be, though you may not like it, but my simple and correct answer is, spatial analysis is simply analyzing something with respect to space. So whenever you do analysis of anything, natural or human element, with respect to space, that is called spatial analysis. But faces tell me that you do not like this definition, yes or no? Because it doesn't give you a feel. Faces are Greek and Latin. So I need to make my students Indian again. So it means I know as a teacher that I'm not able to reach to you by just saying spatial analysis is analysis of something with respect to space. Though it's 100% correct definition. Books will write this way only. But to reach to you in a concrete way, that what exactly is spatial analysis, I have to take some examples. I have to make you understand more clearly what is spatial analysis in practical terms. So for this, I'll take you to school geography. So let's recall what all did we study in geography in school and how did we study. And the moment we recall these kind of things, we'll understand the approach, the method called spatial analysis. Let's understand in a very simple way. See here. Can I say in school geography we studied physical features of the world? Like for example, we studied fold mountains of the world, like Himalayas. We studied economic resources, like oil, like gold, etc., or many more. We studied, let's say, volcanoes of the world. We studied earthquakes. We studied, let's say, the soils of the world. We studied climates of the world. We studied vegetation types of the world, forests, grasslands, deserts, etc., and many more things. Is that everything? Like we have done this in school? Now let's take one or two examples out of it to know how did we study this. Let's recall broadly. Let's focus on this physical features. So either you recall a teacher's class in school or you recall a book from school days. Can I say under fold mountains, a teacher or a book gave us the definition of what is a fold mountain? Yes or no? And having defined fold mountain, a book or a teacher made us understood that such mountains are not found everywhere on the earth's surface. For example, Himalayas are fold mountains. Aravallis are fold mountains. And you know these mountains are not everywhere on the earth's surface. So the moment we got to know what are fold mountains, we understood in addition that these mountains have a non-uniform distribution on the earth's surface. And that was the reason that our books and our school teachers went for giving us the pattern, the design of distribution of fold mountains on the earth's surface. Means the book or the teacher told us, where do you have these mountains on the earth's surface? And to give us this particular point more clearly, they gave us the markings on the world map also. Yes or no? So see, this is what I wanted to say is this spatial analysis. It means having understood that fold mountains like Himalayas have a non-uniform distribution on the earth's surface. So our subject of geography, our school teachers and books told us the spatial pattern of distribution. Means they analyze these fold mountains with respect to space. They gave us the understanding where do you have these fold mountains. And they gave us a map also to show that. And once we knew the spatial pattern of distribution, we also went into the question why and how of this pattern. Means we tried to understand why the pattern is the way it is. Why fold mountains like Himalayas are at the location where they are. Why not elsewhere as such? And how these fold mountains have evolved over the period of time. So it means we first studied what are fold mountains, and then we went for spatial analysis. We related the fold mountains with respect to space, and we found that there's a particular design, there's a particular pattern of distribution. We understood that distribution. We showed it on the world map, and then we went to the question of why and how. And once that was known to us, we went for further details in terms of why and how. For example, if I take how they evolved in time, we understood, and Mr. Rijwan will make you understand that not only we have endogenetic processes, we have exogenetic processes also. We have agents like water moving on the Earth's surface. We have glaciers on the Earth's surface. We have wind. They all are playing some role. And how many of you will understand if I say Mr. Rijwan would have given the definition of landform, landscape? So how many will understand if I say every landscape represents the stage of the eternal, means ever going on, fight between endo and exogenetic processes. It means, can I say, it's like man proposes, God disposes. Can I say endogenetic forces propose something on the Earth's surface and exogenetic forces are trying to dispose of. It means what kind of landscape you'll get an area will depend on the stage of that fight which is going on between endo and exo. When you go to Himalayas, the teacher will tell you they are one of the youngest fold mountains of the world. And since they are young, it means the fight has not been there for a long time, and that is why elevations are high. Peaks are conical, valleys are very deep, and they are very V-shaped. And rivers which are moving on the mountains of Himalayas, they are having great amount of energy, because as a student of science, river will get energy in the form of mechanical energy, yes or no? The energy because of height. And on the other side, you'll have the example of old fold mountains like Aravallis, one of the oldest fold mountains of the world. And scientists, geologists will tell us that once upon a time, the Aravallis were higher than Himalayas. But see what has happened to them. Today, they are having very low elevations. Their peaks are not anymore conical, they are rounded. Their valleys are not very deep, they are very shallow, and they are very U-shaped. And rivers are somehow managing to move on the Earth's surface. So all these details came under this study of fold mountains. So I hope you get the idea of spatial analysis. That the moment the scientists found fold mountains like Himalayas are not uniform on the Earth's surface, they analyze it with respect to space. And they went for these kind of questions, these kind of focus areas. They went for spatial pattern of distribution. Now, let us take another example, one more example. Under economic resources, we studied oil. First, we defined what is economic resource. Teacher told us that anything which brings utility to man would be a resource. So oil is one of the important resources we have. Once we knew oil as a resource, we immediately understood again that oil has a non-uniform distribution on the Earth's surface. And the moment we knew this, we had to go for spatial analysis. So in oil also we did the same. We went for spatial pattern of distribution. And once we had the spatial pattern of distribution of oil, that which are the areas of the world map which have surplus oil, we went for why is it so? Why only certain areas and certain rocks have surplus oil and others do not have? Then we went for how the oil has evolved over the period of time, and then we went for some related aspects like the geopolitical kind of connections. Year before last, there was a simple question in oil, 15 marks question, and you will understand how important is newspaper reading. Earlier I gave you the example of volcanoes, of the volcanism question. There was a question year before last where you had to just know that oil has a non-uniform distribution on the Earth's surface. You had to have one or two statistics on that. And secondly, they were relating it to the politics involved. Oil has a lot of politics. 1973, we had the first oil shock of the world. And since then, oil has become a geopolitical weapon. And since year before that examination, we had lot of news about oil and politics. OPEC and OPEC plus countries were always in news in that year. So there was a question based on the politics itself. So who will write a good answer to that question? The only one, the student who has attended a class or who has read a book like NCERT or other geography book and has read the newspaper. So for one student, the question is very easy. For the other, there's no clue for the reason he doesn't know the second half of the question at all, because he has only done the static portion, not the newspaper. He has not seen what the country has been talking to itself for the last 1.5 years or so. So I hope you understand what is spatial analysis, that we are trying to find a spatial pattern of distribution. But unfortunately, our teachers in geography in school in India never told us that they were doing spatial analysis. Am I right or not? They never used these two words. They did spatial analysis without telling us. They just went for a mechanical approach. And we never understood what is geography as a subject doing. Now we understand through this small discussion that geography is about focusing on the earth's surface, and we focus on spatial analysis. And if you have understood this much, now let's see one common attribute. Just confirm this point. Whatever I have written on the board, you all agreed that we studied this in school. Can I say all these things which I have written on the board, they have one thing in common, and that is they all have a non-uniform distribution on the earth's surface. Yes or no? Yes. So it means the picture is getting clear. Those things of the nature and human society which have a non-uniform distribution on the earth's surface, they need a spatial analysis. Because remember, by common sense, if this is my earth's surface, and if something is available everywhere on the earth's surface, do you think for that something I have no reason to go for spatial analysis? See, when would you need a spatial analysis to know more about something? When that something is not available everywhere on the earth's surface. Yes or no? If something is there on the earth's surface everywhere, what is there for me to analyze it with respect to space? So it means my conclusion, my understanding which emerges on the surface is, we geographers study those things of nature and human society which have a non-uniform distribution on the earth's surface. And how do we study? We study them by spatial analysis. We know more about them through spatial analysis. Is this understood? Now, if you have understood this much, now let's go back. Let's go back to this claim that I said we in geography can study almost everything. And I know there would be many students in my class who are not happy with this claim. So I give everyone a minute. Take 1 minute in silence and give me one good example. It should be a good example, okay? Give me one good example of anything in nature or human society found on the earth's surface which has a uniform distribution, so much so that you can say that, sir, that this particular thing of nature or human society seen on the earth's surface has so uniform a distribution that you cannot go for studying this in geography because it doesn't need spatial analysis. So anyone in the class who wants me to prove wrong, who wants to prove that the teacher is on a high today, please give me one good example of nature or human element which has so uniform distribution on the earth's surface that you say, sir, it cannot be a subject matter of your subject called geography. But remember, it should be a good answer. Okay, take a minute. Don't attempt the answer immediately. There's a student, Sohan, writing online guesses. I don't know which guesses is talking about. He says guesses are uniform. It's wrong answer. No, guesses are not uniform. We lost so many lives in Delhi only for the reason that medical oxygen was not uniformly available in Delhi. Yes or no? Yes. So how wrong is this answer? Now, Yashasvi is writing air is uniform. No. My half of the lectures, about 7 or 8 lectures or 9 lectures of the course will belong to air only. No, I told you so clearly, atmosphere is my subject area. Don't you think air differs from place to place in terms of temperature, pressure, and more importantly, for practical reasons, air quality index is being used today. Pollution levels are not same. So there is a lot to study in air because air is not uniform. Neha Sharma writes grass is uniform. No. One, we have different types of grasses in different areas. In the days to come, mind it, in the days to come, you will understand in ecology and geography that India lacks grasses in a big way. Have you not seen, please don't talk with each other, be on the board. Have you not seen that fodder is a big issue in India? Every economic survey will talk about fodder as a problem. Why? Because we have one of the largest wealth of animals in this country, but we don't have grasslands in the country. This is a very unfortunate and interesting point for Indian geography, that India has everything in terms of physical aspects, but India doesn't have any major grassland on the lines of savanna of Africa or on the lines of prairies and steppes of middle latitudes as such. We don't have any big area of the country which is worth being called as a grassland. Small patches of grasses are there. And when you will study about the grasses in ecology, you'll get to know our grasses in India or in tropical areas are very rough, are very thick, and they lack nutrients. It means our poor animals eat very poor material. And that is why they are not productive in nature. Whereas temperate grasses, prairies and steppes, they are very soft, they are very nutritious. And animals are less in Europe, but what they eat is very good and they produce a lot. And that is why they are famous for dairy industry, yes or no? And now some student will say, sir, we are number one in milk in India. Remember, we are number one only because of numbers. Because we have too many animals in the country, so we have number one position. Otherwise, our animals are not producing something good as such. So grass is the wrong answer. Neha Sharma says, water inside the earth. I've already said I'm talking about the earth's surface. And second, even water inside the earth is not uniform. You are very wrong. If it would have been uniform, don't think we would not have got so many problems in irrigation, etc. So none of you is able to give. Now there's a student Varun writing, ice on the Himalayas uniform. How poor is the answer? Means just to prove the teacher wrong, he is attempting anything. There is a student Rushikesh writing sky is uniform. I'm talking about the earth surface and he's saying sky is uniform. Remember, even sky is not uniform. Sometimes it is partly clouded, sometimes it is more cloud, means you have different degrees of clouds, you have different colors there, no? For example, in a city like Delhi, you will not see a blue sky because we have so much of pollution. Go to Europe, you will see more often. Now there is one student, good student online, Saurav is writing, sir, nothing is uniform. Saurav has understood my point. He says, sir, don't waste the time of the class. I like students like Saurav who understand the gist of the topic. I hope the class offline is getting my point, that you have no good example to prove me wrong. Yes or no? Means none of you would. There is a student writing sunlight is uniform. Let us prove this student wrong. Let's be on the board. Because this is very interesting. Because everything of geography and ecology is based on sunlight only. Be on the board for 2 minutes. You may not understand the terms, a few of you, but most of you remember, if this is my earth, this is equator, divides my earth into 2 parts, northern hemisphere and southern hemisphere. And you will get to understand, if not today, in the next lecture, that as earth revolves around the sun in 1 year's time, though the sun doesn't move, it is the earth which is moving. First, please don't talk with each other. Don't disturb. See, I mugged up the lecture in the morning. I'm trying to vomit out. So please don't be a hindrance in my structured vomiting. Remember, every examination demands structured vomiting. You see the marks and vomit according to that. Those who do more, they lack, they will not be able to complete the question paper. Now, as earth revolves around the sun in 1 year's time, for some reasons which I'll teach you later, the sun would appear to move. It is the earth which is moving in reality, yes or no? But because of some reasons, you will be told in the topic, my 15th or 16th lecture with you will be on a very interesting topic. I'll teach reasons for seasons. And there you will get to know that as earth completes one journey around the sun, because of some reasons, the sun appears to move between the 2 tropics. Means when we have summer in northern hemisphere, sun appears to move towards the north, and approximately on 21st June, sun reaches the farthest position in the northern hemisphere, which is 23.5 degrees north of the equator, and this would be called as Tropic of Cancer, and we Indians will call it as summer solstice. Australians would have winter at that time, and they will call it as winter solstice. And from here the sun will take a turn, and when we have winter in northern hemisphere and Australians have summer, sun would appear to move towards the south, and on 21st or 22nd December, sun would be overhead at the Tropic of Capricorn. It means in 1 year's time, the sun would have movement, the apparent movement between the two tropics. If the sun is moving in 1 year's time in this area of the world, can I say this area of the world would have most of the time higher angled rays? It means this area of the world which is beyond the tropic in both the hemisphere will never ever get vertical ray of the sun. It means in this area of the world you will have more inclined rays, and I hope by common sense you understand this area would have diffuse hitting and this area would have strong hitting. It means let's learn a term today through a wrong question only, the wrong answer. We will be using a term insolation, which is a short form for 3 words, incoming solar radiation. So please write on the margin, always make a margin in the notebook where you write some extra point of the lecture. Please write, remember, always have a margin in the notebook and have a margin in life also. You never know whom you have to adjust in life. Now see, you are very sharp as a batch, I tell you. You understand my point immediately. Good, great. We'll have a good time in 21 classes. You see, one is a mainstream life. Extras have to be adjusted on the margin always. So please write insolation. So we learned once a very popular and important term for this subject. Insolation stands for incoming solar radiation. So I hope I don't need to say anything much now, that this area of the world would have very high amounts of insolation. This area would have intense hitting, and this area would have diffuse hitting. It means this simple discussion tells us that in general there's a decrease in insolation from equator to the poles, North Pole and South Pole. Yes or no? Now, those who are not getting my point, I make it simple. We Indians are here, yes or no? Can I make a simple statement? We Indians are hot throughout the year. And Europeans are hot only during summer. Hot means I'm saying Indian areas are hot. Okay, don't misunderstand. Fine. So that answer goes wrong. So I hope the class agrees that we do not have any good example of any element of nature or human society which has so uniform a distribution that you tell me that spatial analysis is not possible. It means my summation is that we geographers can study almost everything, because almost everything of nature has to some or the other degree non-uniform distribution. To the extent something has a non-uniform distribution, to that extent we can do spatial analysis. And the moment we do spatial analysis, we get a subject called geography. It means in school, through spatial analysis, we produce the geography of physical features of the world. We produce geography of oil of the world. We produce geography of soils of the world, climates of the world, vegetation of the world, geography of volcanoes of the world, geography of earthquakes of the world. Yes or no? So we did geographies of many things for the reason they had all non-uniform distribution. Now in this class, I'm very happy that though 1 or 2 students tried to prove me wrong, but I tell you, in some other batches, some students go very low in level. They go so low to prove me wrong that some student will say, sir, God is uniform. Means they want to prove me wrong in any way. So when someone says God is uniform because God is omnipresent, I'll say even then we can study God for the reason everyone doesn't believe in God, yes or no? Or we have different ways to believe in God. So see, we have reasons to study God also. Now some student will go so low and say, sir, atom is uniform. Now when a student says atom is uniform, I hope the student must understand atoms will make something finally, yes or no? But I don't want to waste my time with these students. those who say atoms, etc. For those students, I wrote the word, see how clever I am. I wrote, we study almost everything. I will say that is why I wrote the word almost. But majority of the class understand I can even remove almost. Yes or no? So it means the class agrees that almost everything of the nature and human society has some degree of non-uniformity on their surface, and to the extent it is non-uniform, we have a reason to go for spatial analysis to produce geography of that particular item or that particular subject matter. Now, let's have something more interesting examples on the board. You studied about the things which I have written on the board in school days, but now I tell you what all we study in geography. And now the moment I give you examples, you will understand why teacher said that geography pertains to all other subjects also. It means after this lecture, after 8, when we leave this hall, you will take home a new element for answer writing in every other subject of this examination. Let's see how. Tell me, just let me complete. See, remember, the only privilege we teachers have is to close the lecture. I will decide the time to close the lecture, okay? Administration decides the time to open the lecture. Teacher decides the time to close. And this is the only privilege I have. Once I reach home, you know the privilege is like somewhere else. Who knows who have to make the dinner today, no? Fine, focus on the board. So, see here. We have written the things which we studied in school geography. We produce geography of volcanism, geography of soils, geography of vegetation. But see now what we do at higher level geography in the different universities of the world today. I'm writing something on the board which will surprise you. We also produce geography of terrorism. Now tell me honestly, did you expect the student of geography in the first lecture writing on the board the word terrorism, and that too in the first lecture? You never expected. You expected me worth only soils, vegetation, rivers, mountains, etc. But I tell you today, we produce geography of terrorism because you know in today's world map, there are certain locations I can identify from where the chances of origin of terrorist activity are much more than the rest of the world map. Yes or no? So it means there's a clear reason for me to study geography of origin of terrorism. Yes or no? And similarly, on the same world map, there are certain other places I can identify with the chances of the impact of a terrorist activity going are much more than the rest of the world map. It means there are some specific target areas and there are some specific origin areas. It means I have a reason to go for spatial analysis of terrorism. It means no research on terrorism of the world is complete without spatial analysis. Is that yes or no? It means tomorrow if you get an article in the newspaper with the title Geography of Terrorism, without reading the content, you know what the subject matter would be. Yes or no? The author will have to write what is terrorism, and then he'll give you spatial distribution, spatial pattern of terrorism, and then he will answer why and how of it. And then he'll suggest something that how can you get rid of this problem from the world map. So see, we do geography of terrorism also. Now let's go for something more. We do this also. And I'm taking some specific examples only. There's no dearth of examples because I've said everything is under geography. Think of coronavirus. Can I say geography of vaccination? You think it's very important for mankind today to realize that we need to have a more uniformity in vaccination across the continents of the world. And this is so unfortunate that developed countries who have the resources, they have cornered most of the doses of that vaccine. And think of Africans and think of many Asian countries where we do not have that vaccination possible. And this problem will not be eradicated completely without more uniform vaccination. So it means we have reasons to go for producing geographies of vaccination. And can I say this is what we learned through this last 2 years of experience, that geography of oxygen also means how unfortunate we Indians were that we lost lives in cities like Delhi only for the reason we didn't have medical supply of medical oxygen at the right time in the right place as such. Whereas we knew that oxygen was there in the country, yes or no? But it was not at the right place. It means now we understand how important is spatial analysis. It means our leaders and our scholars as well as our officials, they really didn't realize after the first wave that we need to have more uniform spatial distribution. They miserably failed without having the, they did have the impact of it, but they didn't learn from it. But today, perhaps the hospitals are understanding this, that we must have our own production center within the campus of the hospital itself for oxygen. So see how important it is, how important is the spatial approach. If you understand the lives lost in Delhi because of the lack of oxygen, with the understanding that oxygen was there in the country in enough quantities, but it was not available in a spatial way. Now, if you understand this, can I say, in India, you will understand that there is clear geography of poverty also. Tell me, is poverty uniform? No. If there is a geography of poverty, don't think there is a geography of development also. Can I say there is a geography of epidemics in India? Means as an administrator, would you be able to have solutions for eradication of epidemic from the district without knowing the spatial distribution? That which particular blocks are endemic, are having problem year after year? So it means the learning which is coming on the surface is that whenever I want to study something more deeply, I must always relate it to the map. Yes or no? I must analyze something what I am interested into. I must analyze with respect to space always. Because almost everything we are interested in life is having a non-uniform distribution. And to explore its details, we have to go for producing geography of that something, and that is through spatial analysis. So, what is the suggestion now? Suggestion from me as a geography student is that after today's lecture, be a part geographer in your personality. It means don't complete any answer in any exam of the country, in any part of your syllabus, without bringing spatial approach. Whatever phenomenon you are writing on, you must write in relation to space also. I'm not saying that this is the only way, but what I'm saying is spatial analysis will give you 2 or 3 additional points. Yes or no? So you can enrich your answers by incorporating spatial. It would help you in paper on essay as well as ethics or any other paper. Because you already know every element of nature and human society has a non-uniform distribution. Don't think India's planning needs a spatial approach. Your Indian economics books and teachers will tell you that unfortunately planning in India till 1980s has been without spatial approach. Your teachers will tell you clearly that in this country, Planning Commission wrongly went for uniform policies in different fields for the whole country. For example, in demography, population, the Planning Commission till 1980s went for same policies for Kerala as well as Bihar or Madhya Pradesh or Rajasthan. Only by 90s they realized with the results that what works in Kerala may not work at all in Bimaru states of India like Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, UP, Odisha, etc. It means I can say as a student of geography in a sarcastic way that perhaps Planning Commission of India till 1980s did not have a map of India in the office. Because the Planning Commission of India thought of India as a point devoid of any spatial dimensions. So everything of your subject would need spatial approach. It will help you to enrich your answers. Okay. Now, so if you understand that spatial analysis will give you some extra point, means after the class you will become a part geographer in your answers. I'm not saying full geographer, no, because other teachers will mind. But what I'm saying is that you have to have a geographical element in every answer because diversity is there. There's a non-uniform distribution, more so in India. Now, since I believe that class has matured to a different level now, so I will now leave geography and I'll go for one philosophical point about all sciences of the world. So next 10 minutes are not about geography. next 10 minutes will be about every science we study. And this also will give you a better approach for answer writing or answers in even your interview and later in life in your administration. Please listen to this, and my first 5 minutes will not be understood by most of you, but be persistent with me on the board and you will understand this philosophical point in the next 5-10 minutes. See here, I say every science attempts to discover, identify, and order in the apparent chaos of nature or human society. Please live with this sentence for a minute. Read this sentence again and again and try to find out what does it mean. I know many of you will not don't mind about me saying this, since such kind of focus has not been there in your school or college. So many of you may not understand what exactly is this sentence indicating. But just read this and try to make a meaning of it. I say science, every science attempts to identify, discover, and order in the apparent chaos of nature or human society. Now, I make it easy now by giving some examples. But before that, what does it mean when I say order? Many of you may not understand the word order. By order, I mean pattern. Remember a few minutes back we said there's a pattern of distribution of oil in the world. Means there's a easier word called design. Or if I make it more clear, there is a sort of generalization. So I say every science is making, mind these words now, every science is making our lives easier by discovering order, the design, the pattern in the apparent chaos of nature or human society. This is one of the important goals of every science. Now, those who are still not with me, I'll give 2 examples. One from geography and one from some other subject of school days. And from geography, I'll give an example from other teachers' area so that you are better, more convinced. I'll not use my area today, atmosphere or climate or oceanography. I'll use other teachers' area. Now, be on the board. In physical geography classes with the other teacher, you will study earthquakes. And when you study earthquakes, you will get to understand that no place of this earth is immune from a quake. It means one of the effects of Mother Nature is that a quake can happen anywhere, anytime. So much so that we may not be able to complete today's lecture. Yes or no? Because no place is immune from a quake. Now when I say we may not be able to complete today's lecture, some people will curse me today. Yes or no? That in the very first lecture is talking so negative. But just wait for a few minutes, I'll show you that I'm a very positive person. But when you know from the subject of geography or geology that Earth's inside has such processes, stresses are being built up all the time, that no place is immune from a quake. It can happen anywhere, anytime. Tell me, what kind of feel you get about nature? Can I say this kind of effect gives you a feel of a chaos in nature? Yes. Means you believe that I have no control on my life itself? That I can have a quake anytime, anywhere in the world? So it gives you a feel of chaos. But what the sciences have done, what the science of geology or geography has done, that scientists have seen this apparent chaos of nature, yes or no? But what they have done is, with their research work, they have tried to find out a design and order behind that apparent chaos. They understood that a quake can happen anywhere in the world, anytime. But by studying nature, they understood that behind this apparent chaos, there is a design also. So you will find Mr. Rijwan's classes will give you a theory called plate tectonics. You'll be told that the whole Earth surface can be seen in plates. Means whole Earth surface is subdivided into parts. Like my two hands are two plates. And where these plates meet, there is a boundary. And along the boundary, these plates interact with each other. And you know, interactions lead to results. See, these are the kind of students who will make the classes interesting. I'll just throw the words and they will understand something more than geography. So see here, so very good. I mean the same. When plates will interact, sometimes you'll find they will interact by going away from each other, divergence. Sometimes they will converge. Means sometimes they will go away, sometimes they will come closer, sometimes they'll just pass time with each other. But one thing common will be, whenever plates will interact, earthquakes will happen. Sometimes volcanism would happen. Sometimes trenches will get formed in the ocean. Sometimes you will have huge mountain ranges being formed. Great results will happen on the Earth's surface. Okay, I'll stop. I'll not go further. I will leave it for the other teacher also. Now, I hope you understood the point that on the face of it, there is apparent chaos. But plate tectonics has discovered. Now, mind this important point now. Though a quake can happen anywhere, anytime, but scientists of the world have found with their research work, which happened to span over from 1915-16 to almost till late 1960s. This research work gave us a theory called plate tectonics. And this theory tells us today that a quake can happen anywhere, anytime, but in the present scenario of the Earth, in the present times of our Earth, there are 3 seismic belts of the world. Means there are 3 areas of the world map which are prone to earthquakes much more than other areas of the world. And your teacher will tell you, and some of you will remember from school days, that there is a belt called Circum-Pacific Belt. By Circum-Pacific Belt, we'll understand all the areas of the continents of the world which are touching Pacific Ocean, like west side of North America, west side of South America. Then think of islands like Japan and others. They all are full of volcanism as well as earthquakes. You'll be surprised to know that about 80% of the quakes of the world are restricted to Circum-Pacific Belt. Now, don't you think when I say 80% of the earthquakes are related to this area of the world only, don't think we are now very strong, positive that we'll complete today's lecture. Because most of the earthquakes are too far away from Delhi as such. And not only will complete today's lecture, we'll complete many lectures. And with God's grace, I'll complete many more batches to come. Then, what else? Then your teacher will identify what is called Trans-Eurasian Mountain Belt. Your teacher will start from the mountains of Europe and will bring to Himalayas in Asia. This mountain system, which is called Trans-Eurasian Mountain Belt, this area of the world is so prone to the earthquakes that it alone registers 15% of the quakes of the world. See, 95% of the quakes are covered in 2 areas of the world. And then comes the area called mid-oceanic ridges. Some of you may know that on the floor of the ocean, we have huge mountain systems, which are much, much more massive than the most massive mountain on the continent surface, that is Himalayas. These Himalayas stand nowhere in front of something called as mid-Atlantic ridge, for example. Now, these mid-oceanic ridges, which are on the floor of the ocean, plus one small area of Africa. Some of you might have noticed on the physical map of world that East Africa is breaking up. Just notice it after those who have not seen it, see it after the class today, that Africa's eastern portion, you have many cuts like this. And your other teacher will tell you that very soon, within a few million years, eastern part of Africa will get cut off from rest of Africa. And this area, which is prone to earthquakes, is called as East African Rift Valley system. You will find many lakes are there in this area today. And these lakes will become a sea. Then the one part of the continent will separate from the rest. There will be a sea from the Red Sea till Mozambique in the south. Now, this last belt is registering about 4% of the earthquakes of the world. So how much? About 98 to 99% of the quakes are covered under 3 seismic belts. So I hope you understand. A quake can happen anywhere, anytime in the world is a fact, which gives me what kind of feel? Chaos. But what scientists have done? Scientists have made our lives easier by identifying that there is an order behind that apparent chaos, and that order is given the form of 3 seismic belts of the world. So I hope you understand this statement now. And now I want you to understand that every science is doing the same only. One of the ultimate goals of science is to discover order in what it studies. I'll give you one more example. And the next example is so good that I will not have to speak much. Within just one sentence, you'll understand. I say, think of chemistry as a subject without periodic table. How many of you understand periodic table is nothing but the order in the diversity and complexity of the elements of nature? See the beauty of those scholars, that they studied different elements of the world, and they studied them so well that they brought them together in an organized fashion. So much so that they left some boxes blank, empty. They said tomorrow, means future, you will discover new elements which will fit in these boxes. So how many of you understand periodic table is a very good example of order in the apparent chaos of elements of the nature? Imagine if this periodic table was not there, don't you think? You had to study every element of nature and all compounds of that element separately one by one. Life would have been hell. Yes or no? But chemistry has made the subject so easy for us by making the discovery of order in the apparent chaos. And this is the reason one scientist said beautifully. There was a scientist by the name Bungay. He said, science is the deadly enemy of uniqueness. Write the sentence and think of it. Please write Bungay and put a hyphen, right? Science is the deadly enemy. Science is the deadly enemy of uniqueness. It means you need to understand that science kills uniqueness. See here, periodic table has killed the uniqueness of elements by giving you one column halogens. No, they will have all similar properties. See the beauty. And this is what every science is doing. Sociologists are looking for order in societal interactions. Psychologists are trying to see common elements in human behavior. And that is how they are making our lives easier. They are making contributions to society today. So what is the advice being given here? So advice is that whenever you write some answers in UPSC or elsewhere, whenever you speak in life, try to reach to the, yes please, pattern. Poor answers will only talk about isolated elements, no? Good answer will try to reach to some order behind that apparent chaos. I'm not saying you need to reach to the level of the scientific investigation, but at least you can incorporate some elements which can give the examiner a feel that yes, the student is going deeper into the topic. So 2 pieces of advice from my lecture of the last 1 hour or so, means I've taken a little more than what I thought earlier. That one, follow spatial approach in life. Yes or no? Means be a part geographer in every answer. Because you know, everything what you write on or speak on life in examination would have a non-uniform distribution. Second advice is that try to reach to the order, the pattern. Now, I'll give you a practical example. Someone said reading syllabus and newspaper, the previous year's question paper doesn't make sense to me. I will say, even if it doesn't make sense, keep reading it, because now I'll tell you one rule. See here. when you see the previous year's question papers, let's say you see the essay papers of last 12 years, one feel you'll get is that every year they have asked different topics, yes or no? Means a feel will come in the mind that as if sky is the limit for these examiners. It will give you a feel of chaos in the topics, yes or no? That you will have a problem. How should I prepare for this examination paper? Because in school and college, teachers gave us 4 essays, no? We prepared 2 of them because we knew the choices would be there, and one we क्या बोलते थे, चिपका दिया and all that, no? So in the sense that you prepared in a very easy way because essays were known to you. But I hope you understand, in UPSC we will never have repeat topics and you get a feel of chaos. But what I wish from a good student after this lecture is that read the question papers of essays so well, again and again, try to find out order in the apparent chaos of the titles they ask. And you will find with this approach, within a few days, you will find that I can see some design in the paper. You will see there are certain domains of life, society, on which the topics are asked. And those domains are not many, they are not large in number. They are only 8 to 10. Means these are the areas on which the titles are asked. And what is the beauty after this? When you read tomorrow's newspaper, when you see the title of an article on the editorial page, the moment you read the article's title only, you'll get to know that this article is good for essay paper and this is good for this domain. And later you'll understand this domain is also having overlapping with the paper on ethics and also has overlapping with the questions on governance also. Don't think your examination would become easier for you? So there are 2 approaches, there are 2 kinds of students. One who would have a feel that this exam is unstructured. Chaos is what is visible to me. Sky is the limit. But a good student will go for finding order. And you will do it yourself. Remember, no one else will do it for you. That is why I said, don't waste your time with seniors. Don't waste your time on tea stalls. Sit on the table and be a good observer yourself. Be alone and you'll have great learnings in life. Is this understood? Now, I'll go a little beyond the lecture's time. I told you can I go? Yes, certainly I'll go. This is out of courtesy I'm asking you, but this is because there's another quote I'll give you later. In politics, we say, let the people think they govern and they will be governed. I hope you understand. This is what Kejriwal does. This is what Modi is doing for a lot of time now. That they ask people, yes or no? People feel as if he's taking their opinion. They're not. They just make us feel that our opinions are important, but in reality, they're not important as they make us believe. So now I'll take 15 minutes more. I'll prepare you for my next lecture. If you have understood that geography is a spatial science, so it means we cannot move in the subject any further without locating places on the earth. And it means we need some system to locate places on the earth. And you have seen that we use a globe as a model of the earth. By model, I mean a simplified version of a complex reality called earth. And on the earth model called globe, you have seen a network of lines, which is called grid system. And this grid system has 2 sets of lines. What are those lines? No, this is the mistake you do. They're not latitude and longitude. Latitude and longitudes are 2 angles. Lines are called parallels and meridians. Parallels are based on angle called latitude and meridians are based on angle called longitude. This would be my subject matter in the next class with you. But to prepare a ground for it, I will go for 15 minutes of lecture further and I'll take you to the field called geodesy. So please write this word. Geodesy. Now, before you write what is it, please see here. This is a science which deals with the Earth's shape and size. We try to know more about the shape and the size of the Earth by direct observations as well as by some mathematical calculations. So please write the definition. Geodesy is the science that attempts to determine Earth's shape and size, by surveys and mathematical calculations. I repeat, it is a science that attempts to determine Earth's size and shape by surveys and mathematical calculations. Now, today I'll just talk about the shape of the Earth. So please write Earth's shape. Now be on the board for 5 minutes and please do not write anything. Whatever I'll speak, I'll make you write later. Now see, we learned today that Greeks were the first geographers of the world. And they lived centuries back. Now these Greek scholars who were the first geographers, through their observations of nature, they concluded that Earth is a perfect sphere. I repeat, with the help of their observations of nature, Greeks made an assumption in the subject of geodesy that our Earth is a perfect spherical body. And this notion of Earth being a perfect sphere remained unchanged for many centuries. Means no one challenged this assumption of the Greek scholars that our Earth is a perfect spherical body. But the first challenge, or should I say the first correction, came in 1687, means late 17th century. And this correction in the concept of the Earth's shape as a perfect sphere came from the great scientist we all know, Isaac Newton. Now, before I go for what Newton's correction was, let us make one rule for all classes of geography with me. Whenever I hold my left hand like this in the class, you will see a small globe in my left hand. Okay. It means one clear point, I'll never bring globe in the class. I'll do my wonders in the class with my hand only. Okay. If you wish to have a globe, please have it in your room on table. It really helps you. But you will see a globe there. Is there a globe there? Yes, very good. Now, Isaac Newton comes on the scene in late 17th century and he makes a correction in the viewpoint of Greek scholars who had said that Earth is a perfect sphere. Newton said very rightly that Earth is spinning on its axis. Axis, you understand? Axis means an imagined line joining North Pole with South Pole, passing through the center of the Earth. So Newton rightly says that Earth spins on its axis, and because of the spin, there's a centrifugal force acting towards periphery, and because of this, Earth is bulging out in the middle portion. This is without spin. So Newton said that Earth is bulging out in the middle portion and Earth is flattened at the top and bottom. I'm using 3 wrong words in my lecture. I'm using the word middle. In notes, I'll make you write the word equator for it. Okay. But those who do not remember what is equator technically, they just think of it as middle portion of the earth. Next time we'll understand what is equator. And when I say top, I mean North Pole. And when I say bottom, it means the South Pole. So Newton made us understood in 1687 that earth is bulging out in the middle portion here. And it is flattened at the top and bottom. So he said earth is not a perfect sphere. Earth is a flattened sphere. And this flattened sphere was referred to as, was called by the scientists as oblate spheroid. So, two ideas have been shared with you. Greeks made us believe that earth is a perfect sphere in the subject of geodesy. That idea remained unchanged for many centuries. Then in late 17th century, correction came and earth was understood as a oblate spheroid, which means the flattened sphere bulging out in the middle portion, flattened the top and bottom. Now, this was in late 17th century, but there came one more change, and that change came in the modern times of 20th century. The third concept of the shape of the earth came in the 20th century when our earth had started taking its selfie. Means before we started taking our selfies, Mother Nature had started doing it for earth. I hope you understand the point. That think of the 20th century time when we started sending satellites in the space. So when satellites went up, they took the images of the earth from outside. And when those images came from the satellites, the scientists on the ground stations, scientists found that our earth has a very complex configuration. That on their surface, somewhere we have high mountains, somewhere we have deep valleys, somewhere we have containers of water called oceans. So scientists realize that our earth has a very unique and complex configuration of its surface. So in 20th century, scientists got a new idea. They thought, number one, that our earth is unique for the reason that it's the only known living planet. And second, now they understood that our earth has a unique, complex configuration of its own. So the scientists thought, when our earth is so unique that it is the only known living planet and it has a unique, complex configuration of its own, then why are we saying it is like a sphere? Why don't we give a unique name to this uniqueness of the earth? So today, we refer to earth's shape, or we refer to earth as a geoid. So today, if you ask me, what is the earth's shape? I'll say it, geoid. By saying geoid, I mean, I'm giving primacy to the uniqueness of the earth in terms of its shape. I repeat, if someone asks me now, that sir, what does it mean when you say earth is a geoid? My notes will answer this question in an interesting way. My notes will say, when I say earth is a geoid, it simply means that earth is uniquely earth-shaped. Means you are asking me, what is the shape of the earth? I say, the shape of the earth is the shape the earth has. It means the beauty is, I'm giving primacy to the shape the earth has. Whatever it is, high mountains, deep valleys, oceans, that unique shape is being called as geoid. Okay. So let's write these 3 points, and then I have one more point after that. In 1687, put a comma, Sir Isaac Newton postulated that the round earth along with other planets, could not be perfectly spherical. Stop. Next sentence. Until this time, the spherical perfection model, please write the way I'm writing on the board, spherical perfection model was a basic assumption of, until this time, the spherical perfection model was a basic assumption of geodesy. Next point. Newton reasoned that the earth is a slightly misshapen, by its spinning, put a comma, making it bulge through the equator, and flatten at the poles. Within bracket, please write oblate spheroid. Within bracket, this shape is oblate spheroid. Full stop. Now write the next sentence. Today the earth is considered a geoid. Next one, please. Today the earth is considered a geoid. Full stop. For the right. Next sentence. The geoid means that the shape of the earth is uniquely earth-shaped. The geoid means that the shape of the earth is uniquely earth-shaped. That's all. Now, last point of the lecture, another 5 minutes. Now see, so understanding is earth is bulging out here and it is flattened the top and bottom. It means two diameters of the earth are not same. I can call this as equatorial diameter and this is polar diameter. So let us check out in the last 5 minutes what is the variation, discrepancy, deviation of my planet Earth from a perfect spherical shape. Let's see how much is the difference between these two diameters numerically. So please write slightly flattened polar diameter is approximately equal to 12714 kilometers. (12,714 kilometers). Similarly, write slightly bulging equatorial diameter is approximately equal to 12756 kilometers. Now, if you wish to find out how much is the variation of the earth from a perfect spherical shape, I hope you understand variation of my earth from spherical shape can be found out like this. If I take the difference of these two figures, and I divide it, I take it as a part of any of the two values, yes or no? Means this much is the variation. I can take it as a part of this value or this value. You take any value, whatever you like, because difference will not be much. When you do this calculation, you will find this is approximately 0.3%. You can check this after the class. We are getting late, so I'm like, you can check it after the class. So what is the understanding? How much is the variation of my earth from perfect spherical shape? 0.3%. Okay. But before we leave this hall, one more discussion. Now there's a practical point. Be on the board now. Let us suppose tomorrow morning, when you are free, you go to a sports shop in Rajendra Market and purchase one of the footballs, or you purchase one of the basketballs available there, or you purchase one of the tennis balls. Please tell me, mind the words carefully, please tell me, in general, one of these balls or the earth, which one would be more spherical in shape? Very good. Immediate answer by some students was that one of these balls would be more spherical. Don't you think if that was the answer, I would not have asked this question? And that too in the closing moments of the lecture, when you are ready to leave the hall and I go for such a question, don't think you will curse me. That what a foolish question, when he has already said earth is not spherical, yes or no? If answer is one of these balls, then I'm wasting your time and I'm wasting my time also. Remember, those who answered this question immediately as one of these balls, did you ever measure the diameters of these balls which you purchased in school days or later? The elders in your family or school teachers told you that these are examples of spheres and you assumed. But my point is, practically speaking, that because of manufacturing reasons, most of these balls, I'm not saying all, remember, that's why I use the word engine. Most of these balls which you get in the market, because of the manufacturing reasons, they have errors which are generally more than 0.3%. I'm not saying that we can't manufacture a perfectly spherical ball. We can. So I'm not saying that we cannot manufacture a perfectly spherical ball. We can, but the cost will increase. Yes. And companies will not do it for reasons you know. So most of the balls, I'm not saying all, most of the balls which you get in the market are not that spherical as you assume them to be. So what I wanted to share with you was that my earth is, though not a perfect sphere, what happened? Though my earth is not a perfect sphere, it is still a better sphere than most of the so-called spheres of life. Now you might be surprised that why I'm discussing this point at the end of the lecture. The reason is that after today's lecture in all my classes of geography, for most of the practical purposes we will assume earth to be spherical. And I have shared this observation with you so that none of you can refute, can go against my assumption. If anyone is found against my assumption in the class, I'll remind that my earth is better than the balls we have already assumed to be spherical in shape. So write the point. I told you, you have to follow the teacher here. So please write. And you know, in the last 5 minutes, I take my time. For most practical purposes, PRACI, means I'll give you the spellings also. For most practical purposes, put a comma, earth may be properly considered, for most practical purposes, put a comma there, earth may be properly considered as a sphere. As a sphere. Full stop. Indeed, next sentence, indeed, put a comma, it is a more nearly perfect sphere. Indeed, comma, it is a more nearly perfect sphere than most of the spheres. And when you write spheres, write within inverted commas, because in reality they may not be exact. Then most of the spheres with which we come into frequent contact. Then most of the spheres with which we come into frequent contact. Within bracket, right? Such as a football or a basketball. Such as a football or a basketball. Then right, the variation from true spherical shape is very minute. The variation from true spherical shape is very minute. Would have it approximately 0.3%. The variation from true spherical shape is very minute. (0.3%). Now, please remind me that we'll be starting with this topic in the next lecture, the grid system. And before we leave, there is one question by one online student. Let me answer that. There's a student asking me, sir, so is the shape dynamic? Does it change with time? Lot of time? Yes. More, remember, for the reasons which other teacher will talk about, the inside story of the earth, that the shape of the earth has been changing over the period of time, but the change over millions of years, no? Not in our lifetime as such. Last point of the day. What is? Spatial and temporal analysis, better word. See, what is, please, there's a very good question, let me answer it. What defines geography's spatial approach? Just wait, I'm answering your question. Temporal analysis is not exclusive to geography. Temporal means you are analyzing things in time framework. For example, I say history is chronological in nature. So history study events in time. Geography is chronological in approach. We study spatial units. Temporal analysis can be done by psychologists, can be done by sociologists also. But spatial analysis is exclusive to subject of geography. What defines me as a geographer is spatial analysis. I may use temporal analysis for better results in my study. Okay. Thank you very much. Yes, I'll take leave from online students also. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.